The Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
I'm Father Greg Sakowitz, rector of the cathedral here in Chicago. To my left is dear friend Mark Teresi, who's been part of our staff for a long time. Deals with the 150th anniversary, 175th, special projects. Morning, Mark.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, and 150th Holy Name Cathedral. Come to our website, holynamecathedral.org, to find out all the wonderful things that are happening. Birmingham lecture in April. We're going to have Living Rosary. We have a concert coming up, and a lot of things for people to come down to visit their cathedral.
Plus, all we have going on at the cathedral during Holy Week,
exactly.
Not only your own parish, but the cathedral, and with Palm Sunday, this weekend, it's the holiest week of the year. I always tell people, make this week holy. Make an effort to be part of the Palm Sunday celebration, the Sacrament of Reconciliation, Confession, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Station of the Cross, the Easter Vigil, Easter Sunday, because it's hard to believe that we are actually approaching the end of Lent.
Mm-hmm.
End of Lent. We're already now within days of April, and even though it's being taped, baseball starts today. I think it's played back a few days from now, but here we are, baseball upon us. So we have a great program lined up, and Mark, take it away.
Well, now in its third year, St. Mary of Vernon is hosting the Living Last Supper. This Palm Sunday event, it's a dramatization of Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, which depicts this dramatic moment in the final week of Jesus' life, leading up to his crucifixion. This is intended to be more than just a play. It's meant to be a deeply moving and reflective evening, giving one a chance to pause and truly reflect on the immense sacrifice Jesus is about to make on our behalf. In the studio today, joining us from St. Mary of Vernon is Steve Servi. Welcome, Steve.
Good morning, Steve.
And on remote, Father Ignatius Anneli, the pastor of St. Mary of Vernon. Welcome, Father. And
thank you very much, Mark.
Oh, it's good to hear your voice. And Jen Daniels, who really runs the parish. So welcome, Jen.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Before we begin, for both Steve to know and for Jen to know and for Mark, because Mark and I were on the faculty at Niles College, Seminary of Loyola University, and I recruited Ignatius Anneli, an 18-year-old young man. He started in the college seminary back in 1990.
Wow.
Ordained in 1998. And Ignatius, when you started at Niles College, you came from what high school?
I graduated from high school in Nigeria, St. Teresa's High School Seminary in Ibadan.
It was a high school seminary in Nigeria.
Nigeria.
And then you came to Chicago, and
I came to Chicago. I was living in Rogers Park. So I was teaching
beautiful.
CCD. And then Father Larry Maddock.
Oh, sure.
Sure. Well, then you and I go back almost 36 years. I was on the faculty as director of vocations and also taught theology and communications. And Mark, in 1990, you were the disciplinarian?
No, I don't like to say it that way. I was the dean of students.
I remember both of you vividly, I remember Mark. How are you doing, Mark?
I thought you were disciplinarian at Ignatius in your office daily.
Now, I wonder, Father Ignatius, how was that interview? Was Father Greg kind to you?
He was.
He was?
Actually, when I went to the interview, that was when he injured his knees playing football.
Oh my God!
Can you imagine? It was with college kids.
I was 36 years old. It was November of '89, and I was playing tackle football with 18-year-old college guys, and his name was Andrikas Hutcherson. Chopped me at the knee, and I ended up having torn ACL, meniscus. I rehabbed for 10 months, and
okay, Father, enough about you. Let's talk about
that. And also, now, Steve, your background
Yes.
is you were actually born in southwest part of Chicago, and St. Rene Parish, you said?
Yes, I was born and raised on the southwest side of Chicago, 63rd and Harlem, not too far from Midway Airport. And went to St. Rene.
And then for high school, you went downstate Illinois.
Right, my father was transferred with his job to a small farm town in kind of south central Illinois called Robinson. And I spent my high school years in a public school until I graduated there. Then once we graduated high school, I migrated back towards the Chicago area.
And you have been now a parishioner at St. Mary Vernon for 36 years.
36 years, correct.
So you
Now
go
what-
back to the founding pastor, which was Father John Finnegan.
Correct.
Wow.
Who we both know very
Oh.
well.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
First of all, thank you for coming down
My pleasure.
today. You're a parishioner, we were talking, you're a Knight of Columbus, you're a lector. How are you connected to this Last Supper?
I guess the older I get, the more I want to get involved in my faith, a little bit deeper into faith. And being a parishioner for 36 years, I spent most of that time in the congregation just kind of observing what was going on. And then for the past couple of years, I wanted to be more involved in the church. Became a lector, became an usher, Knights of Columbus. And then with Holy Week being a very powerful week for the church, we wanted to do something a little bit more giving and demonstrate to the parishioners just how important Holy Week is. And Father Ignatius actually came up with the idea of hosting the Living Last Supper at the parish. And I kind of took that idea and kind of ran with it, and for the past couple of years, we've been hosting it.
Amazing. Now, Jen Daniels, before we ask you about the Living Last Supper, your background, you were born and raised where?
I was born on the south side, so I grew up in Momence, Illinois, which
Oh.
is Joliet Diocese.
Mm-hmm. And where'd you go to grammar
Yes.
school and high school?
Momence High School, Momence Elementary School, and then I went to college at Maryville University in St. Louis.
Okay, and you've been a parishioner now at St. Mary Vernon for how long?
25 years.
25 years. And then how did
Yeah.
you get involved with this beautiful play, dramatization?
Well, so when I have four daughters, when they were younger, and they started going to religious ed, I got involved teaching. And at that time we had a Christmas pageant where I stepped up and I was the director of the choir. Mind you, I have absolutely no background in choirs or singing, but they needed someone, so I wrangled all the little animals and angels and directed them. So I was a volunteer first for many years. Then I took position working as admin for the religious ed office and youth ministry. And then 4 years ago, I took the director of operations position. So it's been quite the journey.
How was that transition from volunteer to, you are in many ways running the temporal part of the parish?
I feel like it was actually it's been a pretty smooth transition. Granted, there's a lot more responsibilities, but I really try to make sure we have that sort of fun social element too. And I've got a great team of volunteers and staff, and Father is pretty flexible with my crazy ideas and hasn't kicked me out yet.
Well, I'll tell you,
So-
Father Ignatius is an outstanding priest.
Yep.
Ignatius, even when I met you as an 18-year-old young man, I thought to myself, if you go all the way to priesthood, you will be a great priest, and you have been all these years, because you were doing back in 1998, and how quickly the years go by. But it's now Ignatius, you have been pastor at St. Mary Vernon for how many years now?
I was going to 7 years. 7 years. I came here in 2019,
wow.
right before COVID.
Well, the year, okay, you got there in what, July 19?
Yes.
So which means then within your first year, you saw the church shut down in March of 20 for about 3 months with the whole thing of COVID. As our whole world got turned upside down. Now, getting back to this beautiful, the living Last Supper, this was your idea, Ignatius, to gather some folks and put this together?
Yes, what happened is my former parish, what used to be St. Jude in South Holland,
Oh,
one of our deacons brought that idea, and we acted that play for several years. And I took few of the parts. One of the parts I did one time was Matthew. The other part was Judas. Go figure. So when I came to St. Mary of Vernon, they were having another play, and then they've done that several times. I said, why don't you try this? And then Steve Starley just took it up. And so it's been very successful since then.
And maybe a quick question for both Steve and for Jen, and even for you, Ignatius. Steve, the very fact the play is now happening, this will be how many times for you in the parish involved with the play?
This will actually be our 4th year.
Okay, now how has the play touched your life?
As I mentioned, it gives me a deeper appreciation for the faith and a deeper understanding of Holy Week. And the performance is not a play per se, it's a very spiritual reflection. And it's very moving. We've had a lot of folks in the audience approach us afterwards, and they were very moved by the whole reflection.
now is there a script involved with this?
We actually have purchased the rights to have a script, and
Oh.
each disciple has their own monologue.
Oh,
So it's a one-page monologue that we try to memorize the best we can, and each disciple gets up and does their monologue. So we're all trying to figure out amongst us who is the betrayer. So we all take turns. We stand up one at a time. We do our monologue. Then he sits down. The next disciple comes up.
beautiful. Father Ignatius, when you were Judas, what was that like to articulate that monologue in terms of knowing what that person did in terms of betraying Christ?
Well, I think it was really touching, though, because the idea is the whole thing is when Jesus said, one of you will betray me. So the story goes about what must be going through the mind of each of the apostles when Jesus said that. And at the end of each of them speaking, they will ask, is it I? Maybe asking themselves if they were the ones that would betray Jesus. So can you imagine Judas asking that of himself in front of Christ? It's almost, so he had his own monologue about how he met Jesus Christ, how he was the only one that was trusted enough to be the treasurer. So he talked about how Jesus trusted him, called him to be an apostle. And I said, am I the one that's going to betray him? But yet he knew he was the one. So it really touched me, that.
Now, Jen, how about for you? How has this play touched your life over the last couple of years?
It's powerful and moving just to sit there and watch these guys all get up and give their monologue or their witness talk as to what is happening at the time, and then to is it I? And you almost think gosh, what am I doing wrong? What can I do better? So you can even take what you're seeing and apply it to your personal life as, what am I doing? They do a phenomenal job. It's really, really good.
Now it'll be played live this Sunday at what time?
Palm Sunday at 6 p.m. at St. Mary of Vernon.
And how long does the actual play run, Steve?
It runs about an hour, 10 minutes.
And then is there interaction with the audience, or is it strictly just the apostles on stage?
Just the apostles on stage. We have music. So basically, after 3 disciples give their monologue, then we have a musical interlude. Then after that song is played, the next group of 3 apostles speak. And we go through all 12 of us.
And how many people have been showing up the last couple of years?
We probably average around 125, 150.
That's good. And now this would be at St. Mary Vernon on Sunday,
Palm Sunday,
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
No charge.
No charge, it's free, correct.
All are welcome.
All are welcome.
And St. Mary Vernon is located where? What street?
It's in Indian Creek, so it's off of Route 45 in Mundelein. It's kind of Mundelein, Indian Creek, Vernon Hills there, but it's off of Route 45.
And this will be the 4th year.
The 4th year. And just a point of interest, we do take it on the road as well. So if there are other
you do?
we took it last year to another church.
Which one, out of curiosity?
It was Cyril Malabar in Bellwood.
Oh, okay,
Bellwood.
sure. That's wonderful.
We went there last year and did a performance for them as well. And if there are other parishes in the area who are interested in having us come to their church, we can do that as well.
Or maybe at Mundelein Seminary. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah. Mark, take us to break.
Yes. So Catholic Chicago will be back. We'll continue our conversation on the Living Last Supper, St. Mary of Vernon, with Steve Survey, Father Ignatius Anneli, and Jen Daniels. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about the community of St. Mary of Vernon. They're so involved, but also connected to the seminary in very special ways. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned. We're back with Catholic Chicago. Father Greg Sackwitz, Mark Teresi here with, in the studios, Steve Survey from St. Mary of Vernon, Father Ignatius Anneli, and Jen Daniels joining us online. We're talking about the Living Last Supper, a wonderful, wonderful religious, I would say religious inspirational presentation at St. Mary of Vernon. And Steve, during the break, we're chatting a little bit about the logistics. I think if excuse me, if anybody's listening and in their parish, they might want to tackle this. What are the logistics? How does this work?
As far as the setup, it's very simple. A long table to have 13 folks, 12 disciples in Jesus, 13 chairs. And I try to involve as many of the folks at St. Mary of Vernon as possible. So even though there's 13 men, we do use 2 females for our narration portion of it. We try to get one adult female. We try to get a teen female from the youth group as well involved. We also get some of the youngsters, 10 years old or so, involved, where they will, in the beginning of the performance, set the table. They'll put the bread, the baskets, the cups. So they get involved in the very beginning before we start our performance. We also have the choir involved. So we try to involve as many folks as possible.
And so this is actually something that you actually begin working on right after Christmas.
Correct. I pretty much approach Father Ignatius the day after Christmas and say, Father, do you want to host the performance again? And he's been blessed to say yes. And I start January 2nd, I give January 1st a day off. January 2nd, I go and ask the prior disciples if they want to come back. I've had about probably 50% of the cast has been with me all 4 years. And the other 50% kind of turns over once or every 2 years.
But that helps because they teach each other.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And my goal is to have a full cast by the end of January solidified. And then we rehearse.
Starting when?
Well, I start January 2nd, and by January 31st, I want to have my full cast slated. So I want to have all my volunteers.
When do you start practicing as a cast?
We start practicing once a week, the first week of February, all the way through Palm Sunday. Wow. So it's really about a 3-month commitment on my part, and about a 2-month commitment on the actors, because we have to rehearse once a week.
And once a week for like an hour or two?
It takes about an hour, hour and a half, correct, yeah.
Which that's a tremendous commitment weekly,
Correct.
all the way up to Palm Sunday.
Correct.
But what a gift to the parish.
But it's really amazing how, by doing this, the friendship and the camaraderie that the disciples build amongst themselves. It's almost like Jesus. He had his followers. And it's kind of heartwarming in a way, especially when to see the 13 men work together, the 2 female narrators, then the youth groups as they set the table. It's really kind of a blessing.
Now, Jen, Steve has described his role in this whole production. Specifically, what is your role in the production?
He gets the space, he gets the costumes, props, and hospitality. That's really Marv. Steve, whatever you need, I'm here for you.
And that's very important. I had a question. Father Ignatius, so
Yes.
you have had 4 years of people going through this, and you were part of it in the other place that you were at. What do you hear? What do you hear from the folks that are involved? Any interesting stories or feedback that you receive?
Well, one of the things is the Sunday before the act itself, we have them make announcements dressed in the attire almost like at the time of Jesus. And you hear both the parishioners, they are just surprised when they see them up there, and then the way they look at them. But the people that attend and those that act, it really touches their heart. As Steve mentioned, there is that camaraderie that they build among themselves. But the parishioners also, it brings the story of the Last Supper to life for us. So people have always been touched spiritually by the act.
The very fact that half the cast is back for their 4th year speaks volumes. And it's if we were to ask every cast member, I'm sure they would say it has touched their heart to be part of it. Now, I don't know from the audience, but for those that are involved with it. And I think something like this is it's so great at building community, but also it sets the tone for Holy Week.
Correct.
It sets the tone. You mentioned, Jen, how it touched your life. Steve, it touched your life. And Ignatius, it has touched your life because you brought it from the other parish on the south side to here. And people have really responded. Out of curiosity, when the play first happened 3 years ago, which this is your 4th year, how many were in attendance? Like maybe 50 or 60?
We pretty much had a pretty steady stream, maybe about 100 in the beginning, and we're, like I said, about 125, 150 right now.
So it keeps trickling upward.
Correct.
So as you're involved, you see this, all 3 of you, is there a saint around the table that stands out for you? Maybe start with Jen.
Well, our Judas does a phenomenal job. He really plays the role very well. And we're chuckling because, well, we know who he is, but he really gets into character and is very passionate about his role. And Matthew also, he has just a soft-spoken gentleness to him, and when he does his part, it's just all the guys are they really take the role. They own it and they portray it as if they were Matthew or Judas or
They really do their homework and try to put on the persona of that individual.
Correct.
Father Ignatius, what about you? Character.
I know one of the roles that struck me is one of Thomas, the apostle. And he mentioned that people remember him for his doubt, but no one remember him for his courage, which is true because most people talk about doubting Thomas. But remember the courage he had. When Jesus was told that Lazarus has died, and Jesus wanted to go back there, the other apostles said, "Why are you going back there? It wasn't long ago. They want to kill you. Why would you want to go there?" And Thomas said, "Let us go that we may die with him."
Wow.
He was a courageous man. So people don't see that and don't think about that.
Beautiful.
How about for you, Steve?
Yeah.
Every disciple is unique in the way they present, in the way they speak. Again, we're not memorizing the monologues word for word. So everyone is different. I play Peter. I played Peter all 4 years.
Okay.
Peter. But I will say, if you see the performance, Judas, his ending is just phenomenal. I won't tell you about it. You have to see it. If you want to hear about it, you got to come see it.
Tell people when they're coming. And
But Judas has a phenomenal ending when he storms out of the church.
Palm Sunday, what time?
Palm Sunday, 6 p.m.
And St. Mary of Vernon.
St. Mary of
in
Vernon.
Vernon Hills over on Route 45.
It's off of Route 45. It's actually Indian Hills, but it's off of Route 45. It's kind of Mudline, Indian Hills, in Vernon
It begins
Hills.
at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
and no charge.
No charge.
Your comment about everybody was wonderful sounded like a judicious director.
The very fact that this entire cast, including children, weekly, starting like February 1st or something, the first week of February, all the way through the start of to Palm Sunday. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
real major commitment. We want to thank in a very special way our guests today, Steve Survey and Father Ignatius Anole and Jen Daniels from St. Mary of Vernon and St. Ignatius, not St. Ignatius.
He just sainted you.
Yeah, Ignatius, I made you St. Ignatius.
St. Gregory
And
just
that,
sainted St. Ignatius.
Exactly, St. Ignatius. I think it's been a tremendous program today, and again, all are invited this Sunday, Palm Sunday, St. Mary of Vernon over in Indian Hills, or Indian Creek on Route 45.
Indian Creek.
6 p.m., no charge. And it's a great opportunity with the start of Holy Week. What a time to enter more deeply. And I think it's just phenomenal that, Father Ignatius Anole brought it to the parish. Steve, you and Jen and others have run with it. And God bless all of you. Special thanks also to co-host Mark Teresi. And
What a great program.
Great program. And great job of our producer, engineer, director, Clint Cottrell. To our listeners, may God bless all of you. Continued blessings as we move from Lent to the season of Holy Week. God bless and Easter blessings.